Hey traders, welcome to TradePro Academy and welcome to our channel. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is breaking down 3 easy steps to actually understand trend moves, find trend moves based on order flow and specifically the footprint. So we're going to be using the footprint to identify how trend moves can play out in just 3 easy steps to help us understand where buyers versus sellers are winning, but where the continued move is expected and potentially how far it can go. So if you guys are super excited about this video, drop a like, drop a subscribe to our channel if you're new to this channel, and we'll see you guys after the intro. So when it comes down to trend moves, this is about 20 to 30% of the time in the markets. The majority of the time, the markets actually move in a sideways, choppy fashion that allow for distributions to actually be created, right? These are areas where we call balance. Now, the difference between trend moves and non-trending moves, the sideways non-trending moves happen between 70 to 80% of the time, where no new information actually enters the market and markets are very balanced, suggesting that highs and lows are usually tradable and strong-handed traders are actually holding price in these distribution blocks. Now, when strong-handed traders actually exceed the movement of the distribution, this suggests that some kind of new information has entered the market, whether supply or demand is greater than the other, or there could be some kind of news event. Now, when price exits a balance and moves into an imbalanced territory, this is when the trend move happens. So we want to be able to identify when that strikes, when that happens, and with a high degree of confidence so we can make the decision to follow that trend. One of the biggest mistakes people make is when the trend move actually happens, they continuously go counter trend and counter fade to see if price can come back into the distribution because they're so used to trading the sideways distribution chop or the range. This happens 70 to 80% of the time, so people get used to trading the sideways movement and they forget how to trade the trend. So this is why specifically we are making said video. Now, if you want to understand the trend and how that trend plays out, we have to understand distribution theory. So the first 3 steps, or the 3 steps of understanding how trends are tradable when they happen, how to trade them based on the footprint, based on order flow, starts from the understanding of what the range and what the sideways movement looks like so we can actually get into an imbalanced area and follow that trend. So step number 1 is going to be understanding where the distributions sit, where the distribution theory sits. And then step number 2 is understanding how that breaks from an order flow perspective or a footprint perspective. And step number 3 is constantly following the continuation of the trend based on a footprint and showing strength on order flow. So in order to fully break this down, what we're going to have to do is actually jump behind the screen so I can show you on a charting perspective how we can find these constant trend moves based on the footprint. So I'll see you guys there and let's dive into this. Now that we're behind the screens, we can focus on this breakdown of 3 easy steps to identifying trend days with a footprint and order flow. So step number 1 is understanding the distribution aspect. When a market stays in a balance for an extended period of time, what happens is that no new information enters the market, right? And we get very comfortable, price becomes balanced, it becomes very fair. So these distributions are generally found on a volume profile. Something that I use is going to be a 50-day volume profile here, where you can see the tops and the bottoms are being respected, creating all of this volume at the center of this area. When price starts escaping outside of volume, convincingly suggesting that you're going to actually get strong buyers that push it through, that is going to be the start of a trend move. Now, what's the difference between traders that get trapped and head faked in these highs versus something that actually continues is going to be broken down in the footprint and order flow. But generally speaking, we start to find these moves when prices open close to the tops or close to the bottoms on an individual day of these distributions. They have the chance to actually escape said balance. So when I look at these balanced areas, I'm just trying to find out where the expansion move happens. And generally speaking, a higher probability is if we open above or below to get that expansion. But if we even open within, after several days of sideways rotation, we can still break the tops of these areas to find that next leg to the upside. So how do we differentiate that? And how do we know that we're actually going to break based on order flow, and the footprint. So let's dive into the footprint chart so we can get a better understanding. Now, at the top of the distribution area lies somewhere between these two white lines. So when I look at the footprint, generally speaking, we have three different things to look at, right? We have the individual bar delta, so each bar is represented by a specific delta amount, and we have the cumulative delta on the day, which is the middle. So as I'm running into a large distribution, I want to make note of what is going on here from a buyer versus seller imbalance perspective. The other thing is the individual candles themselves, right? I don't want to be necessarily focused on the inside of the candle for this, right? The market sellers versus market buyers. I want to see the imbalance between market buyers and market sellers, which is delta at each level on each individual candle. So when we run into the resistance or the top of a distribution, how do I know it's going to break versus how do I know it's going to actually fail? One of the key aspects is understanding what the delta looks like on the buy side. So this could be considered to be quote unquote stuck longs where there's a lot of delta buildup into the highs, but we're not necessarily breaking higher. However, right, the differentiation between the break and the failure is going to be consistent by delta that forms on the candles themselves. You can see here, you can see here, but also the culmination of individual delta on the candle as well as the cumulative delta on the day. So yes, okay, we have a large red candle here with larger deltas, seeing that maybe buyers are getting absorbed. But just as quickly as we bounced up from these areas, we get the next candle with a very, very nice big delta buyer that comes in and sweeps the highs for the continued move. So if I look at this, we have a lot of delta here that's shaped up on the bullish side at this top, but also the candle itself has a lot of positive buy delta that contributes to the consistent positive delta of the day into the highs. So I'm not seeing buyers shy away as we enter this resistance, right? We get a break of the area on continuous large buy delta and cumulative delta still increases, right? So these areas suggest that buyers are still holding out the highs. Now, large delta can be considered 1,000 plus on each individual bar. So you can see as we go up, the big buyers, they have very, very thick deltas, the sellers not so much, and the individual candles themselves, they're starting to weaken in terms of levels of large sellers while the buyers continue to strengthen, which shows us that there is resilience in this buy side. So when I look at this, we break this first level, and as long as these buy delta clusters that have formed hold out as support, even on minor pullbacks, the upside momentum should continue. The fact that we break the first level on a lot of buy delta, a lot of cumulative delta, and we're starting to do so here as well, suggests that as long as, let's say, 36, 37 holds on the bid right into that area, meaning more buyers step into that area on any pullbacks, we should be good for that continued move to the upside. But if we want to be a little more solidified, we want to see massive buy delta actually enter above these areas, above 44, to confirm that long side. So let's see what happens here. So you get some nice little sellers, some sell delta, right? Some cumulative delta, big sellers coming in here. We're still watching our area, big sellers coming in here, right? So now if we want to be long on these pullbacks into the broken highs, what we need to do is see an aggressive buyer step in on the remaining candle. So there we go. The buy delta on this candle isn't anything crazy, but you can see large buyers are still stacking up here, right? And then that's the continuation move. You still have large buyers at this point, right? You have a very good confirmation that this area where the large buyers broke the top are actually holding out for new buyers to step in. And you can see the delta starting to rise again after a little lapse. So we're through the tops of the level. We get confirmed above 43, but as it stands, right, all these sellers that keep trying back into these areas are getting pushed aside by larger buy deltas, which is suggestive that we have that next leg. Now, look, the negative delta even on these candles is very weak now, right? It's nothing like we saw before where we were a little worried. And here come the buyers, right? They break through the tops with massive, massive delta. Nice accumulation. If you waited for all this to happen to get confirmation above this level, you're pretty much just buying into these highs with the large buyers and the net buyers stepping in. So if I want to continue this move, I just want to find clusters of large delta right here, here, that hold out support, here, that holds out support, here, that holds out support. so we can buy into them, and that's how we can follow these trends. The big buy deltas, right? Those are the areas I want to be stepping in, right, for that continued move. It's even better when you see massive sellers trying to come into the position and massive buyers fighting against them, and you get the continuation of this upside move, right? You get that continuation against all of these big sellers that are fighting, and more buyers just step in. So the 3 steps, right, to find these areas, you have to understand where you stand in terms of the overall context of the distribution, right? Because that creates the trend when you break outside of a distribution based on distribution theory and volume profiles. Number 2, you have to watch how individual candles shape up their delta and their cumulative delta on the candle and on the day to see if there's strength coming into that resistance break. And then number 3, as long as the big clusters of positive delta based on the candles continue to hold and big buyers continue to step in while sellers get weaker pushed aside, you're going to find areas to get in and the continuation of the move, right? So I hope you guys really enjoyed this breakdown of the footprint and finding trend days and continuing with trend days. And what we're going to do is open the comments down below for anything else that you want to see on the footprint, right? We'll try to make those videos. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And remember, check out TradeProAcademy.com for more information like this. But not only this, watch us trade this live on a daily basis in our Discord and our live trading room every single morning. So I'll see you guys there. Thank you and take care. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys got a good understanding of how the trend can be found using order flow, especially the footprint, and how you could actually follow along. Remember, you have to understand first and foremost how these distributions are formed, where the balance versus imbalance actually comes from. Step number 2, you have to understand how that actually breaks and how the order flow actually allows us to see the strength in the break for that new information. Step number 3, how to follow along and keep on side of the trend using the footprint and order flow. So if you like this video, if you want to see more videos like these, drop a comment down below, hit that like button, and we'll see you guys in our next video.